Okay, so picture this. You step off a plane and just walk right through immigration. No passport, no lines, just a quick scan, and boom, you're on your way.
Wow.
Sounds pretty futuristic, right?
Yeah, it does.
Well, get this. At Singapore's Changi airport, it's already happening.
Really?
Yeah. And today we're going to do a deep dive into an article from Channel News Asia all about this passportless system.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're going to uncover how this system actually works, its impact on, travelers and the people who work at the airport, and kind of explore what it could mean for the future of travel.
I mean, just even thinking about that, it's not just about convenience,
Yeah.
right? There are big questions about security and data and how we balance, innovation with individual rights and all that.
Definitely.
So let's start with the tech. Like, how does this passportless system even work?
Well, so it relies on biometrics
Yeah.
and specifically facial and iris recognition.
Ah.
Now, you're probably familiar with facial recognition from your phone.
But iris scanning kind of adds another layer of security.
Hmm.
It analyzes those unique patterns in your iris, which are even more distinct than fingerprints.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. The article says that over 1.5 million travelers have already used the system.
Wow.
And with that, clearance times have dropped by a crazy 60%.
That's huge. I mean, just think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Faster processing times, like shorter lines,
Right.
less stress for everyone, and just overall, a smoother airport experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But there's a catch, right?
Yeah.
The article points out that this whole thing doesn't apply to everyone.
Right.
So arriving foreign visitors and kids under 6 still need to use their passports.
Yeah, that's true. And for the foreign visitors, it really comes down to having that biometric data available.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the little ones under 6, their facial features are still developing,
Right.
which makes facial recognition a little less reliable.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
even with all this advanced technology, we still got to consider, individual factors and make sure the system is working for everyone.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, what's it actually like to use this system?
Yeah.
Well, Channel News Asia featured this guy, Eric Telfon.
Okay.
He's a frequent business traveler who raves about just how easy and fast the whole passportless process is.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's got to be super beneficial for business travelers, especially, right?
Yeah.
Time is money for them.
Uh-huh.
And this tech just eliminates a major pain point. It kind of fits into this larger trend we're seeing, business travel becoming increasingly seamless and efficient.
Yeah, totally. And then there's this other guy, Andy Bingham.
Okay.
He's impressed with Singapore's system, but he's run into some issues with passport scanners in other countries.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that speaks to the challenge of standardization, right?
Right.
If we're going to have a truly global passportless system, we need reliable and consistent technology across the board.
Yeah, for sure. And for now, the ICA reminds everyone that it's still important to carry your passport,
Yeah.
especially when traveling to other countries.
Yeah.
It's not like a complete replacement yet.
Right.
So we've talked about how this impacts travelers, but what about the people who actually work at Changi Airport?
Yeah, that's a great point. Technology like this, it doesn't just affect the passengers, it has a huge impact on airport staff, too.
Totally. The article introduces us to this guy, Checkpoint Inspector MD Firdaus Rosley.
Okay.
He's been with the ICA for 17 years.
Wow.
So he's really seen this technological shift firsthand.
Yeah.
He talks about the old days of manual checks, the long queues, the stress it put on everyone, travelers and
I
officers.
bet his perspective is really valuable here. It helps us understand how this is changing the nature of work at the airport.
Yeah, I think so too. And Inspector Rosley, he points out that this new system doesn't just reduce waiting times.
Huh.
It also helps bridge language barriers.
Oh, wow.
Imagine being able to process passengers quickly and efficiently no matter what language they speak.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an often overlooked benefit of automation.
Yeah,
It can actually make communication better by removing some of those traditional obstacles.
totally. It really does sound like a win-win for everybody, travelers and staff alike. So is this what the future of travel looks like? Are we all going to be saying goodbye to our passports anytime soon?
It's definitely possible. What we're seeing in Singapore, I think, is kind of like a little preview of this larger trend towards biometrics and automation. It's not just airports either. It's happening everywhere.
That's true. But are there any downsides to this becoming more widespread?
Well, yeah. Of course, with any new powerful technology, you got to think about the implications.
Right.
Data privacy and security, that's got to be top of mind. How is all this biometric data being collected? How is it stored? Who has access to it? What's to stop someone from using it for the wrong reasons?
Yeah, those are really important questions.
Totally. And it's important to have these conversations now while it's still relatively new. We still have a chance to shape how this technology develops in a way that, prioritizes progress, but also makes sure it's used responsibly.
So it sounds like even though a passportless future seems super convenient, it's not all sunshine and roses.
Exactly. And it's not just airports that are jumping on this bandwagon either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the article mentions that Singapore's Marina Bay Cruise Center, they're going to start using the system in December, too.
Wow, so this really could be like the start of a much bigger shift in how we travel.
Totally. If you connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just about travel. It's about a change in how we interact with the world, period.
Hmm.
From unlocking our phones to getting into buildings, biometrics are kind of becoming the key to our digital and physical lives.
That's a lot to think about.
Hmm.
So, like, why should someone listening to this care about a new system in a country they might never even visit?
Because it's a sign of things to come. Whether you travel all the time or just curious about the future, this is a glimpse into a world that's changing really fast. And it brings up these important questions about how technology is going to shape our lives in the years ahead.
So let's do a quick recap.
Yeah.
What have we learned in our deep dive on passportless travel? Well, first of all, it's not just a sci-fi fantasy anymore. It's actually happening. And it's making a real difference at Changi Airport.
Right. And while it brings all these amazing possibilities like, making things more efficient and streamlined, we got to keep in mind the data privacy and security stuff and make sure it's implemented ethically.
For sure.
Ooh.
Before we wrap up, let's leave you with a thought. If this technology becomes like the standard, how would it change your travel experiences? Would you be like, yeah, sign me up? Or would you be a little hesitant?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to think about.
Totally. And it kind of makes you wonder what other parts of travel could be like, totally changed by technology in the future.
It's pretty wild to imagine, right? I mean, think about it. We've already gone from like paper tickets and those crazy long queues to online check-in and automated kiosks.
Yeah.
Passportless travel, it's just the next step.
Yeah.
Who knows what's next?
Yeah, it's exciting.
Like maybe we'll be taking virtual reality tours of places before we even book our trip.
Oh, wow.
Or like personalized in-flight entertainment, picked just for you by some AI.
That would be pretty cool.
Or even like self-driving cars that just whisk you away from the airport to wherever you're going.
It sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Right. But, I mean, passportless travel sounded like that just a few years ago. So,
Yeah, that's true. Technology is moving so fast.
yeah. And I think the important thing is to remember that with all this cool stuff, we got to think about, the implications. We
Yeah.
want to make sure these advancements are good for everyone, not just a few, and that, they respect our privacy and security and our freedom to choose.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, I think this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about. Yeah, me too. From how the whole biometrics thing works to the, the ethical side of a world without passports, it's clear that the future of travel is changing fast.
Definitely.
And like we talked about today, it goes way beyond just convenience. It's about our identity, our security, how we interact with the world.
It's a trip, that's for sure.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, but thanks for joining us for this deep dive into passportless travel.
Yeah, this was really interesting.
So next time you're planning a trip, whether it's a quick getaway or a big adventure, remember that the way we travel is changing. And with those changes come new possibilities, challenges, and a whole bunch of questions to think about.
Definitely.
Who knows what the future holds?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
But one thing's for sure, it's going to be anything but boring.
That's the truth.